Every person you meet is living inside a world built from experiences, shaped by beliefs, strengthened by memories, and protected by meaning. If you only hear their words, you'll miss their world. But when you discover the world behind the words, understanding becomes possible. And understanding is where transformation begins. Let's begin with something important. People rarely become defensive because they want to argue. They become defensive because something inside them feels threatened. Think about that. No one builds a wall unless they believe something needs protection. Defensiveness is an emotional shield. The question is, what is it protecting? What if I told you the sky was cloudy yesterday? You probably wouldn't argue with that. Why? Because your identity isn't attached to the weather. Now imagine I say, you're selfish. Notice the difference? Suddenly, we're no longer talking about information. We're talking about identity. People usually don't defend facts. They defend who they believe they are. When beliefs become attached to identity, changing the belief feels like losing part of yourself. That's why people defend politics, religion, parenting, relationships far more intensely than the weather. In court, evidence is examined. Witnesses are questioned. Arguments are tested. But in everyday life, people often convict themselves or others without a fair trial. That's why we become defensive. We're not defending an opinion. We're defending the verdict we've already reached about ourselves. Level 1, the words. Level 2, the meaning. For example, you forgot dinner. Words. I don't matter. Meaning. The argument rarely happens at level 1. It happens at level 2. Suppose your spouse says, you forgot to call me. One person hears, I forgot to call. Another hears, you're a terrible husband. Those are completely different messages. The words didn't change. The meaning did. That's why arguments aren't usually about words. They're about interpretation. Meaning is never found. Meaning is assigned. That's huge. Suppose someone says, you ignored me. Did you? Maybe, maybe not. But the important question is, what meaning did they assign to your behavior? That's where emotions originate. Whenever someone becomes defensive, ask yourself, what story are they telling themselves? Perhaps they're thinking, I'm never good enough. They're disappointed in me. I failed again. If that's the story, then even a gentle suggestion can feel like an attack. You're speaking to the present. They're hearing through the past. Here's where most people make a mistake. They see defensiveness and they attack it. Why are you getting so defensive? That almost never works. Instead, become curious. Try asking, help me understand what felt hurtful about what I said. Notice the difference. One question attacks, the other invites. Remember this: every defense protects something. Maybe it's pride, maybe it's fear, maybe it's shame, maybe it's rejection, maybe it's a painful memory. The defense isn't the real issue, it's the security guard. Find out what it's guarding. People lower their defenses when they feel safe. Not when they lose, not when they're cornered. Safe. That means listening, not interrupting, not assuming, not trying to win. Sometimes saying, "I'm trying to understand you," is more powerful than proving your point. Here's the lesson I want you to remember. People don't defend opinions. They defend worlds. Their experiences, their memories, their beliefs, their identity, all create the world they live in. When you criticize one small idea, they may feel like you're attacking the entire world they've built. That's why understanding always comes before persuasion. The next time someone becomes defensive, don't ask, "Why are they acting like this?" Ask, "What part of their world feels threatened?" That one question changes everything. Because once you understand the world behind the words, you stop seeing an opponent. You start seeing a person trying to protect something that matters deeply to them. And that changes the conversation. If this episode helped you see people differently, I'd love for you to continue this journey with me. This is the world behind the words, where we explore the hidden beliefs, stories, and meanings that shape the way we think, speak, and relate to one another. If you enjoyed this lesson, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who could benefit from understanding people more deeply. And remember, people don't always react to what you say. They react to what your words mean within the world they're living in. I'll see you in episode 3.